Good Friday morning. It's 8:07 on News Talk 1079. Welcome to the show. And boy, we do have a show in a half an hour. The Optometrists, well-known ska band that's been around we were looking at it this morning, since 1998. These fellas have been performing for quite some time. They will grace us with their presence and their musical talent with the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Little Simmer Down coming up, so we look forward to that. We also have a fair amount of news to get to. I feel like the cognitive cover-up of Joe Biden is headed towards, we're getting to an apex of some kind here, where Congress is going to look at this closely and heavily. I think the auto pens are going to be scrutinized, and I think there's probably going to have to be some kind of an investigation as to Joe's state mentally when the pardons were signed and maybe when other important documents were signed, executive orders and such, and see what was signed by an auto pen and what did Joe know. And what was he aware of? What was he not aware of at the time? We had a listener who texted in a question, can anything be done about the pardons? We've actually asked Senator Crapo that specific question, and he said, I think that there may be a way to go back and have those pardons. It would probably require the Supreme Court, but have those pardons invalidated because Joe was not functioning adequately as president. He may not have even known it was happening. And I think that this is a very important question to ask. And now you have Jake Tapper and the co-author, and they're out doing their media tour, and they are talking about this. And here's a question. Peter Doocy asked this question of Caroline Leavitt in the White House briefing room.
And President Trump says that he basically thinks unelected Biden staffers concealed his decline so that they could use the levers of power for their own personal gain.
Well, look, that's not just the president thinking that, Peter. There's a new book out. I don't know if any of you have heard about it. Again, a little bit too late because the American people knew the truth on this from the very beginning. And there were reporters in this room, including some from your network, Peter, I'll give you a little bit of credit here, who have said that clearly Joe Biden's staffers were engaging in this cover-up. So this is common sense. This isn't the president making it up. These are facts that are now finally being revealed. Okay, so, and she's not wrong about that. This isn't Trump out as the lone wolf trying to convince everybody of something. You have a mounting body of evidence that Joe didn't know what was going on. He was pretty non-cogent the whole time, at least a lot of the time. And these handlers immediately in Biden's orbit, what did they do that they weren't personally authorized to do? Using Joe's decline as cover. So, and you feel it coming because the president always knows more than the public does. They just do. And Trump put out on Truth Social, Joe wasn't for open borders. That's never been Joe's position, but yet that's the policy that we had during his presidency. So you have that happening. Also, this was a great point by Senator John Kennedy. And you might remember the White House Correspondents Association and the speakers that were whining that the First Amendment is under attack. And Senator Kennedy makes a fantastic point.
My biggest concern with all of this has to do with the state of the media in America today, Sean. And let me explain what I mean by that. I watched bits and pieces of the White House Correspondents Association dinner this year. And I listened to speaker after speaker, all Washington reporters, defend freedom of the press. And I kept thinking they wouldn't have to defend it if they didn't work so hard to undermine it every day.
Yeah, he makes a really good point here. They wouldn't have to defend the First Amendment if they didn't try to undermine it. And you might ask, well, how did they undermine the First Amendment? The purpose of the First Amendment is to hold government accountable. Now, granted, it's about freedom and it's about having that. But the flip side of the freedom coin is responsibility. They absolutely had a responsibility to tell the truth about, in this case, Joe Biden, or name it, January 6th, or Russia, Trump, or the vaccine, or COVID. They have failed at every important turn in the last several years. Things that are very important to the country, like the future of our leadership with Trump and Russia, Trump specifically. They were in on the cover up. Now, their contribution may have just been lack of enthusiasm for scrutinizing the Biden administration. That might have been part of what they did. They weren't willing to go out and blatantly lie, though I think you could probably find some examples of that. They absolutely were all in on and we're going to get to this too. I don't know if you're following this, but it is becoming more and more clear. Not only does the vaccine pose some risks for young men specifically when it comes to their heart, they may have known about it and peddled it and pushed it anyway. Now they're protected because laws were passed that gives them immunity. They can't be sued. But to know about this is very important because we have a right to know who knew what, when, and what the relationship was, because you might not be able to sue them. And they're probably also immune from criminal prosecution. I'm sure that they baked that into it as well. But we absolutely have a right to know about that. But back to the media for a moment. There was no... Do you remember what the media did when those of us were skeptical about the banning of ivermectin, the banning of hydroxychloroquine, the whole horse-paced, horse crap narrative that they put forward? They will lie, whether it's by omission or commission. The media, of course, will lie, and that's what Senator Kennedy is talking about here. That is undermining the First Amendment. The First Amendment was designed to deliver truth to the American people. That's the part they didn't do. They only paid attention to we get to write what we want to write. We get to say what we want to say. And that's what people think the First Amendment is solely. Well, okay, that's great, but you're undermining the First Amendment because at the core of its spirit is to make sure that governments are held accountable, that there is transparency, that they are scrutinized, and that truth gets told. And they didn't do that. In fact, they did quite the opposite. They only wanted the freedom part of it. They didn't want the responsibility part of it. So, you look at that, and I think that I don't know if there's criminal prosecution because the First Amendment protects people. But there are consequences, and there are real-life consequences. And right now, I think the media is paying the price in terms of public trust, in terms of the very, very public, and I'm sure unpleasant critiques from President Trump and those around President Trump and his administration. And quite frankly, the entire Republican, we've always been critical of the media. But now we are, I think, on full bore status in pointing it out, what they did to you, what they didn't do that they should have, what they didn't do that they should have. And I think that we're seeing something new dawning when it comes to American media and truth telling. And I think part of that is manifest in how the White House is treating new media. They're inviting podcasters and local hosts and all sorts of people to come and be a part of their press conferences. And the Washington press hates it. The traditional membership of the White House Correspondents Association is losing their clout and losing their power, and they hate it, and they think that is an affront to the First Amendment, when in reality, it's actually preserving the First Amendment. they proved themselves to be unworthy guardians of the First Amendment, and now they are suffering those consequences. So you have that. Yesterday there was a Supreme Court ruling, and religious charter schools will continue to be illegal after the U.S. Supreme Court had a 4-4 tie in a case many observers considered one of the most consequential education cases in decades. The deadlock means an Oklahoma Supreme Court, and by the way, this is according to a media outlet called Chalkbeat. The Oklahoma Supreme Court decision that blocked the opening of St. Isidore of Seville Catholic virtual school stands. Many charter school advocates cheered the outcome. They had feared a ruling in favor of the proposed religious charter school would upend charter laws in dozens of states and potentially lead to new restrictions on the sector. Supporters of St. Isidore had argued that charter schools, which are publicly funded but independently run, are more like private entities that contract with the government, and not allowing for explicitly religious charter schools would amount to religious discrimination. But charter sector advocates have long held that they are public schools, and state laws describe them as such. Starlee Coleman is the president and CEO of National Alliance for Public Charter Schools and said today's decision from the Supreme Court leaves the lower court's ruling in place and sends an important message. Public charter schools are just that, public. This case may not be the last time the court takes up the question of religious charter schools, but today's outcome offers clarity for families and educators. You know what? I'm just going to say this. I think that they are overblowing their support for the decision yesterday, because it actually was a non-decision. And it is a status quo continues non-decision. It's the Supreme Court did not say with definition yesterday that private religious schools can't be charter schools. They just couldn't arrive at it because Amy Coney Barrett recused herself, leaving us with 8 judges making a decision, and those 8 split 4-4. So I would not say that this is one of the most important decisions in decades. This was a non-decision. And if a different case comes forward, and let's hope, I don't know what the recusal rules are, but I don't feel like Amy Coney Barrett needed to recuse herself. But I'll also say this, maybe if we knew how she would have ruled, we should be grateful she recused herself, because seeing her over the past few years, we've come to realize she's not a reliable conservative vote. She's not a reliable originalist vote. And it's kind of a crapshoot. She's sort of David Souter in a way. You're never going to be quite sure what you're going to get from Amy Coney Barrett. And so even though she is Catholic, and this was a Catholic school that was a part of this case, you would think, well, should be sensitive to that. But nonetheless, so I think they're overstating the significance of the non-ruling yesterday. Nothing changed. It basically was, well, we're deadlocked 4-4, so nothing changes. But yet I literally saw headlines yesterday that the Supreme Court banned religious charter schools, and I thought, that is not at all what happened. They didn't proactively ban religious charter schools. They just couldn't reach a decision one way or the other. So I think another case, maybe one that is a Lutheran or some other religious school, may come forward, and then they would decide then, which way to go on this. But I look at this, and also there's a question, how does this impact Idaho? Because we've had this debate. In fact, the last, I think, 3 to 4 years, we've had this discussion about education savings accounts. We've had the discussion about vouchers, even though that's a dirty word. And finally, the idea that was able to get through both chambers with the governor's signature was an education tax credit. And then at that point, parents can decide where they direct their money. I will tell you this. Obviously, I'm not a legal expert. I don't think this inaction by the Supreme Court will have any bearing whatsoever on the situation in Idaho, because ours is structured very differently. We're not creating religious charter schools. We're not allowing a, St. Lutheran's kid school somewhere in Idaho to apply to be a recognized charter school and then get funding directly from the state. That's not what's happening in Idaho. You have religious schools that simply will be eligible for parents to choose to spend their education tax credit on if that's where they want to put their kids. So I think the cases are different enough, and I'm sure you've got people in Idaho hoping, wishing, thinking that this development in the Supreme Court is going to make it more difficult for Idaho's law to stand. I don't think the two have anything to do with each other, even though in the end it has, the viability of religious schools getting public money might be the only similarity here. So I wouldn't worry too much about this case having an impact on Idaho. Now, I think if the Supreme Court had somehow reached a 5-4, or maybe in this case with 8 votes, it could have been 5-3. If somehow the Supreme Court had decided and said you can't have a private charter school, and this also extends to Blaine Amendment stuff where not even religious schools can take public money, then we may have had a problem. But I think the way this went down, it won't have a bearing on it. That's my early take on it. It's 8:24 now on News Talk 107.9. Going to take a quick break. We will come back, and I can see him through the window. The optometrists are getting ready for their Studio 4 cover, which will happen in about, 12 minutes or so from right now on News Talk 107.9. It's 8:28 on News Talk 107.9. Neil Larson along with Julie Mason and the 4-step lawn program. About time for step 2. Got the humates down, probably a good month ago or so. And Julie, I'm in the same boat. My grass is so long. I know you guys have had to mow yours a couple times this week. And
it's so beautiful, though. It's worth it.
Oh, it is. It's absolutely worth it. And mine's getting like I mowed it Saturday, and it was starting to look like it could use another trim around Tuesday, Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Now, don't let that scare you, though. Your lawn's going to be beautiful. It's going to be lush, and it might slow down the growth a little bit if you'll adjust your water, maybe. That's something the experts at Town and Country Gardens could help you with.
They could help you with that. We had somebody text in yesterday and say they gave it a shot. They had been treating their own yard for years, and they, on our recommendation, gave it a shot, went and got the 4-step lawn program. They are so happy with the results. They
are. Yeah, that's true. Now we're hearing from our listeners you are not wrong. I tried a bunch of different stuff. This is by far the best. So It's very simple. It's straightforward. You can get all of it that you need at Town and Country Gardens really for the entire year.
Yep, there you go. South of Idaho Falls, Yellowstone Highway, across from the malting plant.
Okay, Julie, they are warming up. The optometrists, they're going to join us here in just a few minutes for our Studio 4 cover. Just ahead on News Talk 107.9. It's 8:35 on News Talk 107.9 on this Friday morning. And, of course, that means Studio 4 covers. And we're super excited to bring into the studio this morning the optometrists. And we're going to talk with Bruce. Bruce, we'll have you step up to the mic here. How are you guys this morning?
We are good.
Yeah.
I think the consensus is that we're good.
Yeah. I see a lot of nods here, so that's good. Well, for those who may not know, you guys have been around. I noticed, I was looking this morning. I know you've been around a long time. 1998, is that when all this started?
Yeah, that's about the time we got started. Chad and I, and some other members of the band, we switched from just kind of a alternative band to ska in 1998 when ska was kind of big.
Yeah,
it's kind of a thing then. And we're like, let's switch. We played horns, we played guitars, obviously, the drummers and stuff, and we're like, it just felt like a natural fit to transition. So that's where we got started in ska.
Well, and you guys have been performing quite consistently since then, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much. There were a couple years where we weren't a band, but
got back
together. Yeah, and have been going ever since. That was probably back in early 2000s, 2002.
Yeah,
when we kind of rejoined and haven't stopped since.
I know you have a couple of dates coming up to perform. We were looking at your schedule, so tell us about some of your performances that are coming up.
They're coming up. Let's see, what do we got, Aaron? You might have to help us out with this. If you're willing to. Oh,
I have it.
Okay, go ahead, Neal.
June 17th in Ketchum?
Yes, June 17th in Ketchum.
All
Ketchum Alive. June 16th will be here locally. I'm not sure of all the details on that one, or if it's a private or a public viewing of the band, but
yeah,
something like
Oh, Teton Toyota's
anniversary. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good. And then you also will be performing in, outside Pocatello, Pebble Creek Ski Area on June 28th at the Wildflower Festival.
That's right.
So
those are all coming up in June, and several to come in the following months after that, too.
I know that's when I normally hear you guys. In the summertime, you go out and you do lots of different big events, so that's pretty cool. Tell us really quick about your social media, how people can find out more about you.
Well, we do have a website called opska.com, OPSKA.com. And we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, so we post there fairly often. Trying to get a better presence there, really.
Yeah. I Googled it. You guys are all over. So, yeah.
Check out the Optometrist. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify and all those music listening sites as well. So you can just go check out our music there. We've got 3 albums on there at least, and then plus some live stuff you can check out also.
Okay, so you're performing Simmer Down by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones this morning. So
that's right. Their version of it. It goes back even further than that to the early days of ska.
Okay.
So it was Bob Marley and the Wailers,
Okay.
But this is the version, the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones version.
Okay, well, mics are rolling. You guys take it away. The Optometrists.
1, 2, 3.
Drop, so man, here's what I say. Simmer down. Now I've got to simmer down. A long time ago we used to be friends. Pick my bones in my pockets, that's where it ends. So simmer down, control my temper. Simmer down. The battle will be harder. Simmer down. Okay, here's what I say. Oh, I'm living in a day. Simmer down, here's what I say. Simmer down. Oh, I'm living in a day. Simmer down. Okay. Got to be this way. Where's the love? Where is the loyalty? We did our part. Now where is the love? So simmer down, control my temper. It's hard cause it hurts so. Kick me off. Okay, now everybody in the listening audience, please tune your ears to the strings and the rhythm of the cajon. And if you're in your seat, get on your feet and dance with us to the horns. Here we go. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. comes back around. Simmer down. I know I've got to simmer down. So I'm trying to simmer down. It's hard 'cause it hurts. Simmer down. Oh, you're telling me that I've got to simmer down. So here it goes. We're gonna simmer down. Come on, everybody. Simmer down.
Optometrists, you guys are fantastic.
Thank you.
Great energy. And you can tell you guys have been playing together for a long time. All right. Catch them this summer. Search for Optometrists online. We'll be back. It's 8:42.
Rules would kind of be a fun one.
Oh, look at them go on the fly.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously. Yeah. Do you want to do it?
155, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't, yeah. You can just sing rules. Yeah. You ready? Are we on?
Yeah.
Are we on? Okay.
Yeah, you're rolling.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Rules. They make them, we break them. Rules. They're trying to rule the world. When I was a lad, my mom and my dad tried to control our bad behavior with the rules that they had, like don't say fart and chew with your mouth closed and close your eyes when someone else is praying to the Lord. Yeah, with all these rules, there's one thing that for sure is that if rules can't be broken, well then what are they there for? So give me rules. They make them, we break them. Just a nasty word. Those rules. One thing you can rely on are those rules. They're trying to rule the world. Now think back to school when we were so cool and the teacher and the principal had nothing better to do than just sit around trying to find ways to ruin our lives. I gave us stacks of rules, make us think that living is a crime. So give me rules. They make them, break them. Rules. That's a nasty word. Rules. One thing you can rely on are those rules. They're trying to rule the world. Well, now that I'm older, I'm much more mature. Well, I can see that there's a reason for all of these rules. But that's the one thing that I cannot just get out of my mind, is that if there's a rule, I'm gonna break it every time. So give me rules. They make them, we break them. Rules. Just a nasty word. Rules. One thing you can rely on are those rules. They're trying to rule the world with their rules. So give me rules. Yeah, give me rules. Give me rules so I can break them.
That was awesome. That was great.
I love that
We have time to pronounce everybody. This is Aaron Pearl, Dad Claire Christensen on the saxophone joining us, Chad Christensen on the guitar, Zach Holz on the cajon, on the percussion. I'm Bruce. This is Caleb Dorches. Of course, we got my mom in the studio today, too, singing up some backup vocals. So
Yeah.
that's us. Here we go.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you coming in.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, it's Brad from Now 105.1 and QP99. I'm in the studio here. I love our studios, by the way. Ranger Rick back there. There's Neal and Julie doing their thing. Hey, when you want to advertise on the radio, what do? You call the radio station, right? But what do you do when you want to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and the other TV streaming services? You can kind of click around on them and make guesses or read books or take courses online on how to do that advertising. Or you could call us at the radio station. At Sandhill Media, we take care of your local radio and digital marketing. So reach out to us at sandhillmediagroup.com and we'll make sure that your message gets heard and seen wherever your customers are.
It's 8:48 on News Talk 1079. Julie and I just treated to an encore performance from the optometrist, one of their originals called Rules.
It was really awesome.
It was fun. If you were on Facebook Live, you caught that. We might actually pull that and repost it online so people could hear it. He also went through, named everybody in the band really quick, which I had failed to do during the original interview. So maybe you can catch that later on social media. But
yeah. Fun guys. Oh, my goodness.
They're just, you could just sit and listen to those guys
Yeah.
like for hours. Like they're just good.
Fun guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just built into what they do now. So, yeah. All right. Okay. It's 8:48. News Talk 1079. Neil Larson, along with Julie Mason. And Julie, I talked about the Supreme Court decision, but it was a decision. It was an indecision.
Yeah, it was a, hey, let's pause.
So they didn't, but people are treating it like this is a landmark decision by the Supreme Court. No, they didn't have enough votes either way to reach anything.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't.
There was no decision.
Yeah, so I think they're overshooting the significance of this. So you have that. Also, Julie, we should talk about this. The Pocatello-Chubbuck School District is kind of punting on their cell phone policy a little bit. They're pushing it back. They deferred the decision because the 5 trustees have different opinions. During Tuesday's meeting, trustees explained their stances on 2 possible policies, option 1 and option 2. The first would be more restrictive, preventing students at elementary, middle, and high school from accessing their phones during school hours. The second would allow them to access their phones during free and passing time. What are your thoughts?
Well, okay, so there is a private school that I have a friend who teaches at that's in East Idaho. And I chatted with her, this was several months ago, about their cell phone policy, because their cell phone policy matches up with what was trying to be passed on the state level, which I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
The removal of cell phones from school.
Yeah.
And they've been able to actually make it work. It was not easy. And that was on the private school level. I'm wondering if in the public school level and at this trustee meeting, it's not so much that they disagree, that it might be the pain of implementing the policy might be so overwhelming that they're rethinking how they've structured the policy.
So I mean, I'm okay. Ultimately, well, I don't know. I feel I have conflicting feelings over this, because I do think devices are a big problem, and I think they're a big distraction to learning for a lot of reasons. But I don't know if the answer is this cold turkey approach where you don't get your phone from the moment school starts to the moment it ends. I think that's a policy that's very difficult to implement. And I think the reasonable incremental step toward that is not during class. Now, if you're in between class and you want to send a text or a Snapchat or whatever it is you're doing, then you can do that on your free time if you're not late to your next class. And during lunch, I really don't have a problem if kids want to get on their phones for a few minutes during lunch. I think that's much more implementable than sort of just this pretty broad sweeping, no phones whatsoever.
Yeah. So I think what you just did is explain how I'm viewing that maybe some of these school board trustees are like, hey, the really fun, ideal solution that would really cause so much heartache but bring about such great results is cold turkey. But can we even sustain that heartache that it's going to bring? I don't know if we can, and maybe we need to rethink this and put some different parameters on what we're trying to accomplish.
I'll also say this, and I don't know that because I'm more, I look at math and probabilities and all of that, and the chance of my kid being at a school where there's a school shooting is almost nothing. Mm-hmm. All right, so I look at that, I'm like, that's not really a danger. But we live in an age when there's a lot of attention about it, and parents have strong feelings about it, and they're like, I want my kid to have access to their phone if something happens at school. And and maybe it's not something as dire as a school shooting, but what if it's bullying? What if you have a kid that's a bully, and there are kids that want to catch that on their phones real quick, so they have some evidence to say, I'm getting bullied, or this kid's getting bullied. So I can see an argument to say we should allow kids to have their phones because there are arguable reasons for them to have them. It's just I think the policy, and maybe, and I'm sure some classrooms do this, when you walk into the classroom, there's a nice little basket there sitting right by the door, and every student just puts their device in the basket. And if there's a school shooting, they can get their device. If there's something big is happening, they can do that and still contact mom or dad.
So I've even seen online, some teachers will put a shoe rack on the back of their door, like the ones that are fabric with the little plastic, and each kid gets to slide their phone in the shoe holder.
Yeah.
And that way they're not all piled in on top of each other. It's very easy to get yours back out, like that kind of a thing. So there is some ease. I think that there would be people who go, that's just too much, blah, blah, blah. I think you can find some very workable solutions for that. I also feel like I just don't know how you take away the liberty of a student who is 16 years old during their lunchtime on a public, like in public education. I feel like we might be crossing some boundaries there.
Yeah, I do too.
Maybe I'm not so comfortable with that level of control.
Well, let me ask this question, because a lot of high schools have open campus. If kids want to go grab a McDonald's hamburger for lunch, they can. So we'll let them use a car for lunch, but they can't have their iPhone. I mean, that seems like it's kind of a mismatch here. So
absolutely.
I totally understand this need to get our kids unaddicted to their phones.
Yeah.
I don't think cold turkey is the most likely approach to produce the outcomes we're looking for.
Yeah.
I think we need to teach our kids how to manage their own relationship with their phone, which means when they go to lunch, they can take their phone. I don't have a problem with them taking their phone. I really don't. I mean, don't text and drive, obviously, but I mean, we trust them with much bigger things during lunchtime and during their free time. So I'd be an advocate for, let's try it out. If it's still a big problem, then we can maybe go to stronger measures.
And I believe in the news article, it does say that they are going to revisit this at the next board meeting in June. And so if you're listening, the policy's not dead.
Yeah.
I think they're just massaging the policy.
Maybe. So let's go back to one of the opening lines here. The decision was deferred in part because the 5 trustees have different opinions. Well, isn't that why you have a vote?
Yeah. Are we going to be able to alter those opinions by June's meeting?
You know what I think with some, I've known people, their philosophy is we need to have consensus before we move forward. Like they want the votes to be 5-0. I'm like, no, I don't. Sometimes you just don't get what you want. Like can you imagine if we required that in Congress?
Yeah. Oh,
nothing would ever get done. So I'm not quite sure I understand that. The reason you have 5 people on a board is not for them all to reach a consensus. It's so they can represent their own constituents and vote. And because if you require consensus, then you're introducing all sorts of other unhealthy dynamics.
Well, I don't think they require consensus on other subjects either.
Yeah, I don't either. Like I don't get that sentence.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was an imposed sentence by the journalist or if that's actually what the phrasing that was said. So
yeah, that could be.
Because the overall consensus at the meeting could have been, hey, we want to talk with more teachers. We want to talk with more administrators. We're going to defer right now because we have differing opinions. We want to get more background information. We'll take this back up in June, and we'll come to a conclusion then.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the feel of it, and it was just interpreted differently.
Yeah, that's true. So I want to read one other. We have like a minute left. One of the board members, Raymond Knopf, said he wants simplicity and uniformity across schools with a new policy, but chose option 2 because he believes high school students should have the ability to use their devices in passing periods and lunch, but he disagreed on allowing students to use their devices during free time in middle school. And I'm wondering, what is the difference there? Here's my, you know what? You want to know what my opinion is in the last 20 seconds here? The schools, if kids are not a disruption inside the classroom to learning, then that use of that phone is between the parents and the kids. It's not the school trustee's job to fix the kid. It's their job to make a learning environment that's conducive to all kids being able to learn.
I couldn't agree more.
So that's not their call. They don't need to fix the kids. They just need to create a good environment inside the classroom.
Yep.
All right. It's 8:59, hour 2 coming up. Welcome back. It's hour 2, 9:07 on News Talk 1079. So, Julie, I am Facebook friends with Scott Bessent.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, because I look at some of the posts, it looks like it's him. Like, it's his picture. And a post 22 hours ago said, nobody is above the law unless you're a Democrat who assaults an officer. And so there are posts that, like another one, May 17th, with full GOP support, we're pushing POTUS, one big, beautiful bill across the finish line to deliver tax cuts, increase wages, and bring back U.S. manufacturing. Like, this is stuff that Scott Bessent would put out on his social media. But then there's another one that says, you really need to start securing your XLM and XRP into the new quantum financial system, which is QFS, to avoid cybersecurity attacks and hackers. Do you know how to do that? Inbox me privately for proper information and guidance.
You don't have the right Scott Bessent.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not the Scott Bessent. I'm also friends with Kash Patel, who I'm pretty sure is not Kash Patel. Although this is a clever trick. I mean, this Scott Bessent has like 3,500 friends on Facebook. So there are a number of people who might think they're actually friends with the OG Scott Bessent. And same thing was true for Kash Patel. Like, they put these believable posts, but then they are peddling their crypto stuff in between. So
I would put Scott Bessent up there with the pleasant surprise in the Trump cabinet. He's done a great job.
He really has. You can see why Trump picked him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's good at what he does. So anyway, I just wanted to just let anyone else out there know.
They're so jealous of you.
If you think you're friends with Scott Bessent or Kash Patel, chances are good you're probably not. Just saying. So, any residual thoughts, comments on our discussion last hour about the cell phone use in schools?
No, I totally agreed with what you're saying. I think that we can open up the door to one of the texts that we got that said you can't take away kids' cell phones until the districts start implementing cameras in the school classrooms.
Yeah.
I'm all on board for cameras within the school classrooms. It took me a minute to get there. I'll be completely honest. 6 years ago, I was like, oh, I don't know. It feels like such a good idea, but is this where we want to go? As culture has shifted even more, as we see kids beating up teachers, as we see kids throwing objects in classrooms, I am all on board for cameras in classrooms.
Well, for the protection of both the teacher and student.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a good point. I am too. And you know what? We have cameras everywhere we go now.
Every
workplace
Target,
has them.
Walmart, workplaces, banks, convenience stores, like everywhere.
You and I have cameras trained on us all morning long. So, yeah, I mean, maybe the uneasiness started back in the day when we didn't have cameras everywhere, and maybe it felt intrusive. Mm-hmm. You're being watched everywhere you go now anyway, and how can you argue against being observable when you're being entrusted with the care of our children and the teaching of our children? I think that should just be an expected part of the job now.
And I don't think I am the only one that is, drifted to that transition. I believe that teachers that I talked with 7 and 8 years ago who were a little nervous about cameras in the classroom have since changed their mind as well.
Yeah.
I think if you had done very similar polls back in, say, 2018 and in 2025, you're going to see many more administrators and teachers be willing to have cameras in the classroom. And what I said to you in the break is this is another one of those things where other states have done the groundbreaking work. We have plenty of states and plenty of school districts that implemented cameras 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Find the ones that have worked. Find the policies that have been friendly, but have also been firm, I would say, and do it that way. You're not creating something brand new.
Yeah.
It's not. You're not traveling to Mars.
Right. No, you're right. This is easy. It's not that expensive. I mean, you look at the amount of money we spend in other areas of education. This is not that hard. And I'm trying to see why I wouldn't like it. Like I want to look at both sides here. I think there are some parents who, let's say you have a teenage daughter who has a stalker. Cameras, you might want to put some kind of security on it where you have to go into Power School with a password, and you can only see those classrooms where your kids have classes. That's an extra layer of complexity in allowing access to the cameras, but I still think that it could be done. And that way, it's not just kind of this free-for-all for creeps and pedophiles to just tune into any classroom they want to, just prowling. Like I think I would worry about that a little bit. So I think I'd want some.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair. I think you have to have that level of security, but schools are getting used to that level of security.
Yeah.
Schools have lockdowns at the front, and you have to be buzzed through to even get in. Schools have policies where, I mean, when I was helping in my child's elementary classes, it was, hey, Julie's coming in today, and that was the security. Now you have to pass certain background checks and everything to be one of those people that come in and help regularly in the classrooms. They're used to doing these levels of security. It's not going to be that intrusive for them.
Yeah, that's true. They know how to deal with it. I think you have maybe some sensitive situations. Like I grew up in the witness protection program, and so No, I didn't. Okay, I'm kidding.
That's why you guys went to Moscow.
Right.
You've always said it was because your dad went back to school, but no, you were running.
These are national security secrets I'm not willing to talk about right now. So, all right. 208-542. You know what? Somebody out there is probably going to take that seriously. And now they're going to say, well, because you're joking about it, you're just hiding it. You really were part of the witness protection program.
Have you ever met somebody that you think was definitely in the witness protection?
Oh, yeah.
I have told you the story, the really weird story about the people that I think were in the witness protection program.
Name them. Who are they?
No, because
Yeah.
But there were so many red flags, and I was not the only one either. There were other people around me that are like, those people are in the witness protection program.
I know you told me about this, but be really vague, like just a couple of things that made you think they're in some kind of secretive program like that.
They told us that the reason they moved to East Idaho is they opened up Google Maps and just blindly picked a place. And that was East Idaho. So that's how they landed here. Then it was revealed that the husband's job was with the trucking mafia and that there was a lot of underhanded stuff going on. And he just up and quit this high-paying job.
Okay.
To put his finger on a map and find a place to live, which ended up being East Idaho. And then that person was always taking random, mysterious phone calls. Do you remember this now?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Those are just a few of the red flags.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the phones. 208-542-1079. Caller, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's up?
Say, a little off subject, but I just had a chance to call you. Is it just a coincidence? Do you believe in coincidences? What I was wondering is why is it that out of all of Trump's rallies that he gave before he was the election, all the rallies, there's got to be over 50 rallies, and the one at Butler is the only one that CNN covered.
So my daughter asked me that question just a day or two ago. She said, Dad, is that true that CNN largely did not cover Trump's rallies, but they were covering Butler? I think that is true.
Yes, I think it is true. Live is what I should say.
Yeah, covering it live.
Quite a coincidence.
Yeah, it is quite a coincidence.
Conspiracy theory or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So to me, that tells me that they had to know something was up there at the Communist News Network.
Yeah, maybe, and somebody may have just tipped him off and said, you might want to be carrying this one live.
Mm-hmm.
So I still am, okay, let's talk about an elephant in the room. We're still waiting for Pam Bondi to give us the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
You had Kash Patel and Dan Bongino doing a co-interview a few days ago, and they said, no, Epstein did kill himself. Okay, so now I'm thinking, no, he didn't. Like I have, when it doesn't pass the smell test, when you look at they swapped his cellmate, the cameras weren't working, the two guards that were on shift were sleeping, they had different guards on the shift. They missed one of the checkpoints because they were supposed to check at like 3 a.m. and they didn't do it. Yeah, so now do any of us know what happened inside that cell that led to Epstein's death? No, because there's no video of it. So maybe, but it's possible when you have Bongino and Patel saying, no, he killed himself. Do they know more? Because I can see a scenario, Julie, you and I talked about this off the air. Maybe they made the conditions such that he wanted to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there was pressure on him saying, okay, you can go through 48 hours of agonizing torture and we're going to end up killing you anyway. Or you can just hang this rope around your neck and step off the chair. Mm-hmm. Or whatever it was. He hung himself, but I don't know if it's a rope or a sheet or whatever. It's your choice, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And so maybe he was given the choice and he chose the less agonizing way out.
What if there was someone standing there holding a cell phone with video evidence of you either off yourself or this person is gone tonight? And it mattered enough to Jeffrey Epstein to make a choice. We have no idea. And I know that sounds very Hollywood-esque, what I'm saying. But to back up those comments that you were making to me in that off-air conversation that we had yesterday, I ran across an X post that talked about maybe pay attention to what Dan Bongino and Kash Patel aren't saying.
Yeah.
They did say that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. What they're not saying is what was going on with the circumstances. Were there other people in the room? How was the gel complicit in the killing of himself? They didn't ever talk about that stuff.
Right. They didn't say there weren't deliberate circumstances leading immediately to his suicide. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we want more information about that. I guess to get back to the original point here. When it comes to the Butler shooting, which is what the caller called about, why don't we have more information? We have had promises of transparency from Trump. We've had promises of transparency from Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi. Tell us what you know about Butler. Tell us why that kid got that close to Trump with a gun. And tell us all the things. Why did you have two sides of the security not able to talk with each other because of radios? Like what? Tell us everything that you know, because the American public deserves to know.
Why are the parents protected?
Yeah.
Hey, there's been other shootings where immediately it has been revealed, and I'm going to add a caveat here because I know someone's going to send in a text, even when the shooter is over 18. But there have been other shootings where it has been revealed that those guns were obtained through parents, or parents made it possible, or gave the child the money or whatever. And we now have had two different shootings where the parents have been held responsible, at least two that I can recall. There might be more.
Yeah.
So we don't even know where this kid got the guns, where the money came from. It's a very lower middle class family. If you look at the house, it's teeny.
Wasn't he sharing a gym with FBI agents that went to the same place?
I mean, all I'm asking is for questions to be answered.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not saying it's an inside job, but you haven't told me anything that's made me believe any other way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Prove otherwise. Because right now there are some really, really strong red flags around this.
Yeah.
So, but I've also found when Trump is asked about the Epstein files, he's kind of dodgy about it too.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
And that's not an accusation. I think one of the potential working theories that we have, Julie, is that the people who stand to lose the most on the Epstein list have national security secrets that could expose our country to tremendous risk. They might be playing that card.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. They might be playing that card. And they've got to, everybody's got a gun to each other's heads in this. And in that regard, if knowing who's on the Epstein list puts our entire nation at risk, I don't want to know who's on the Epstein list.
Yeah.
And I know that's a hard thing to say, and it's not a conclusion that I arrived at easily. But Trump promised the JFK files, and we got them. Now, are they heavily sanitized because there's been decades and decades for them to sort of recreate? Yeah, probably.
Are they a little bit like Swiss cheese?
Yeah, because there are significant timeline issues with what they put out. So, yeah, but Trump delivered on, we will release everything that is available that we can. There might have been one or two documents that they couldn't for a good reason, but they put everything out that they could. Well, now we're waiting. Butler, tell us about that. We're waiting on Epstein. Tell us about that. I fear that the same kind of dynamic may be happening with P. Diddy, that there are powerful enough people who stand to lose a lot, and they're going to be able to successfully stifle it as well.
Yeah, and it at least with the trial as it's going right now, it feels like P. Diddy is going to take the fall for everybody else. He's going to be the Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
In this situation.
Kind of the patsy, but he is guilty of some stuff.
Oh, totally guilty. Totally. Right. And by the way, I think Lee Harvey Oswald was too.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he was the only guilty party in all of that. Sure. And I'm for certain P. Diddy is not the only guilty party in all of this.
Yeah. No, it's true. 9:23, News Talk 1079, Neil Larson, along with Julie Mason. And Julie, freezer, food, meat, steaks, ribs, dogs.
It's a grilling weekend. I think the weather's good.
I think we're going to be like 70-ish or something.
Yes,
so
you need to grill this weekend.
I think I may be grilling some brats and dogs this weekend. Yeah. From Grand Peaks Prime Meats, they can hook you up. Just go to GP Prime Meats and check out their packages and specials, and I guarantee you, unless you're one of them vegans or vegetarians, you're going to find something you like.
Do you hang out with those people?
No, that's why I call them with a southern accent. One of them vegans or vegetarians. Like, no, I do not hang out with them.
GPPrimeMeats.com. There is a grilling package right on there. You can just pick that and buy it. And here's the really cool thing. If you live in Idaho Falls, it can be delivered for free. And if you live outside of Idaho Falls, you can schedule that. And for a small surcharge, they can bring it to you. Or you can just pop on down and say hi. They're great people. And they also, if you pop on down and say hi, they have some freezers there in their lobby area that are filled with like crock pot meals, things that you can just grab.
Bacon.
That you didn't realize that they have. Yeah.
Bacon. Mm-hmm. You know why vegans don't eat bacon?
Why?
They haven't tried it. All right, we're going to be back. 9:25 on News Talk 1079, 208-542-1079. That's the Stones Automotive Group call and text line. Okay. You know what I could do? I have 3.5 minutes. I could pull the Encore Optometrist song and use that as bumper going back.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Should I do that?
It was really cute. It was one they've written. It's their original. They have many original songs, by the way, but it was one that they have written. And what was fun, and I'm not sure you had the audio up when this was being decided, but they had no idea that they were... I had offered it up. I had said in our communications, do you guys want to play an original? They had like read past it. And so they didn't remember or didn't see it. And I offered it up to them and they said, well, sure, we can just do something. They literally did it on the fly without any kind of prep work, anything. And the drummer pulled up a beat. He asked him, what is the beat? and Bruce said what the beat was. The drummer pulled it up, didn't know what the music was supposed to be to this. He just played the beat the whole time. It was actually really cool.
3, 4.
Rules, rules, rules. They make them, we break them. Rules, rules. They're trying to rule the world. When I was a lad, my mom and my dad tried to control our bad behavior with the rules that they had, like don't say fart and chew with your mouth closed and close your eyes when someone else is praying to the Lord. Yeah, with all these rules, there's one thing that for sure is that if rules can't be broken, well then what are they there for? So give me rules, rules, rules. They make them, we break them. Just a nasty word. The rules, rules, rules. One thing you can rely on, all those rules, rules. They're trying to rule the world. Now think back to school when we were so cool and the teacher and the principal had nothing better to do than just sit around trying to find ways to ruin our lives. I gave us stacks of rules, make us think that living is a crime. So give me rules, rules, rules. They make them, break them. Rules, rules, rules. Just a nasty word. Rules, rules, rules. One thing you can rely on are those rules, rules. They're trying to rule the world.
All right, I'm going to add a little.
Rules. And if you're joining Facebook Live late, go back and watch Bruce perform. He gives absolutely every ounce of his body to a performance.
He's
it is
all in.
so cool.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older, I'm much more mature. Well, I can see that there's a reason for all of these rules. But that's the one thing that I cannot just get out of my mind. Is that if there's a rule, I'm gonna break it every time. So give me rules, rules, rules.
All right, we'll start there. Okay, stand by.
Break it every time. So give me rules, rules, rules. They make them, we break them. Rules, rules, rules. Just a nasty word. Rules, rules, rules. One thing you can rely on are those rules, rules. They're trying to rule the world with their rules. So give me rules. Yeah, give me rules, rules, rules. Give me rules so I can break them.
All right, 9:29 and make it 9:30 on News Talk 1079. This was the encore optometrist piece Julie called Rules, which we were treated to during Facebook Live after their cover. They're just fun.
They're so fun. Good dudes.
Yeah, they really are. And by the way, if you'd like to catch both performances, just watch our Facebook post from today, our Facebook Live from today. Once it posts after the show, then you'll be able to go back and watch and scroll in and find their performances because they were a lot of fun.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay, Julie. Caroline Leavitt had a big day yesterday.
A saucy day yesterday.
Yeah. So she called out directly the federal judge who's been blocking Donald Trump.
Murderers, criminals, and rapists. This is completely absurd. Judge Brian Murphy is not the Secretary of State. He is not the Secretary of Defense or the Commander-in-Chief. He is a district court judge in Massachusetts. He cannot control the foreign policy or the national security of the United States of America, and to suggest otherwise is being completely absurd. According to new reporting about this judge, he's a registered Democrat in Massachusetts who during his Senate confirmation hearings failed to disclose his ties to a radical left-wing organization that claimed the word illegal to describe illegal aliens was inherently prejudicial. This massive judicial overreach by Judge Murphy is part of the same opposition our administration has faced since day one. Radical left-wing judges are egregiously trying to stop President Trump from using his core constitutional powers as head of the executive branch and commander-in-chief. These judicial activists want to unilaterally stop President Trump from deporting foreign terrorists and keeping the American people safe.
Okay. Thoughts on the executive branch openly criticizing a federal judge?
I just don't understand. I said this yesterday. I don't understand what they believe the federal branch, what they believe the presidential arm should be capable of. If you're going to pay attention to what these district judges are saying, they don't think the president should be able to do anything. Control the border, monitor immigration, decide foreign policy, work with foreign leaders. I mean, they literally want to know every conversation that Trump has with a foreign leader, word for word.
Yeah.
This has not been a standard that has been set prior to now.
Yeah.
So why are we changing it?
They are. So the left talks about Trump. He's the imperial president, whatever. Look, the whole presidency has kind of become beyond the scope. Like there are lots of legal scholars say, look, the whole presidency's kind of become too imperial. But set that aside. You look at the law. What is Trump allowed to do? And I think and this is the way the left operates, Julie. What level of discomfort do I have over a certain action? If I don't like it, it's illegal. If I want it to happen, but it's illegal, I'll make it happen anyway. That's their own comfort zone is their guide when it comes to determining what's legal and what's not. Those are the parameters. And they always hate Trump. They absolutely are afflicted with Trump derangement syndrome. There was no question whatsoever that we had the authority to deport Abrego Garcia. Mm-hmm. We absolutely had the right to deport him.
I completely agree with that. I don't think there was a question. It's interesting to me that they have spent weeks now defending that criminal. I'm sure you have the other audio, but when Caroline Leavitt goes off in the White House about look, here's the deal. These guys are criminals. It's not up to me to decide where they go. And the president has that right to have them leave. Get out of here. Yeah. Why are you arguing for them to stay? It's like they're always defending the criminal and everything. And she does a great job of calling it out. Scott Jennings has done a great job of calling it out on CNN. We've had lawmakers who call it out. John Kennedy is calling it out. Like you saw Marco Rubio do it. That's the only way to push back on this. And you've got to quit worrying that it sounds potentially racist. There's no reflection on the color of skin whatsoever.
Well, and this is the thing. This is what I like. And I think that Trump was sort of the Moses who has led a lot of Republicans out of exile here. Stop caring what the media says about you. Mm-hmm. And actually, don't just stop caring. Go on offense against them and point out their hypocrisy. And treat them with the level of disrespect that they have deserved for themselves and earned for themselves. And I like that. I think we have to be on offense on this. And maybe it feels too rough and tumble, or some people don't like it when Trump calls out a reporter or fake news or enemy of the people. I get it. Like it's not terribly traditional when you look at the history of the country. However, we live in a time when the press has been completely derelict in their duty to do what they're supposed to do, which is to find out the truth and then tell that truth to the American people.
Do you know what? It's not even that they're derelict in their duty, because that's a given, right?
Yeah.
But then they double down on it and gaslight and say, no, that's not how it happened.
Yeah.
And if you don't call it out and say you're lying, they still are changing people's minds, and they're fine with lying about certain situations. I mean, Caroline Leavitt yesterday had to call out I think it was an NBC reporter for outright lying about the South Africa farmers.
Well, they are. I mean, you talk about Holocaust deniers. This reporter is a genocide denier.
Absolutely.
Listen to this exchange between her and Caroline Leavitt.
Crosses are representing their lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
The fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the White House...
No, it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to show?
What's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact,
Can I stop for just a moment? You have this reporter who's upset because Donald Trump, I don't know what she expects Trump to do, We had Karine Jean-Pierre creating an entire concept called cheap fakes that doesn't even exist.
They made up a word.
They completely made up a word and a concept and pumped that out on the daily when these videos were coming to light of Joe Biden not knowing where in the world he was standing on a stage. Was this reporter aggressively asking Karine Jean-Pierre about that White House putting out misinformation?
No, absolutely not. And this was the gaslighting that I'm talking about, that there's videos everywhere of these white crosses. It wasn't something that Trump made up.
Yeah.
This has been in existence for many, many months, and he's just bringing light to the situation.
Yeah. So here they get to that, and Caroline Leavitt points out, AP has verified this.
Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated, and that's a ridiculous line of questioning. John, go ahead.
Let's go back for a moment to the Abrego Garcia thing. The White House put some explanatory text above the tattoos on Abrego Garcia's knuckles. But then they tried to flip the script and say the White House is saying those were tattoos, but that's a doctored image. Well, no, it's text that's put above the tattoo to explain what it is. Nobody ever said those were tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
But the White House said that those were tattoos. And then they continue to lie about this. So why in the world does this reporter show up with all the indignation that she can muster and question the credibility of the White House and the video they showed the South African president? And even the AP is verifying that those white crosses are representing the white farmers who died by genocide.
Mm-hmm.
And yet this reporter it's like they can't possibly be telling the truth. So I'm just not going to believe that they're telling the truth.
And I am 100% sure. I don't have proof. I just know how these newsrooms work, that reporter returned to her home base, wherever it is in D.C., and went back to where she works and probably got applauded. You did such a good job going up against Caroline, blah, 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 blah. Because that's all that matters to them. Their credibility doesn't matter. Their integrity doesn't matter. Honesty doesn't matter. It just matters that you made a nuisance.
Here's the thing. Now, I don't believe the White House is putting out doctored video or AI generated whatever. I don't know what this reporter was trying to insinuate. But to determine if any video is valid, that's the press's job.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the White House's job to do this for you, right?
Yeah,
Julie, if you came to me and said, I have this 400-year-old document and it's a copy of the Magna whatever, I would hire my own not that I would think you would try to cheat me out of money, but just to make sure before I dropped a few $1,000s on that document, I would hire someone to verify that.
Mm-hmm.
Just for my own. Why don't they want to do that? Why don't they say, we're going to take a look at this video and see if we want to do our own verification? Independent verification is a core principle of journalism. So if there's a video that you have a suspicion about, the burden is on you to find out, especially if you're the press, is to find out if that video was true or not. And furthermore, we went through a time when Biden was in the White House, and there was an abundance of evidence, financial evidence, that the Bidens were taking money from foreign entities, bribes, whatever. And no Democrat and no mainstream media outlet could recognize that as evidence. It wouldn't matter what the White House put forward to validate that video. What do you put forward to validate it? I mean, you can only have corroborating evidence, which they're just going to ignore anyway.
Well, she did. Caroline Leavitt had corroborating evidence. Yes.
Right.
And she ignored it.
She did ignore it.
Uh-huh.
So, but if you want to prove something's true, you're NBC. You have resources. Take the video. Go find out if it's true.
We have multiple AI video sources you can run it through. Ask, where was this video taken? It can give you the time, the date, everything that video first showed up.
Yeah.
Okay, start there. That would have taken you 30 seconds.
Yeah. And a good first step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. 9:42 on News Talk 107.9. We've got to take a quick break. We will continue, though, if you'd like to reach us on the Stones Automotive Group call and text line on this Friday morning. We'd love to hear from you. Rules.
All right. Reminder, you guys, Memorial Day activities are happening. There is the flag display at Century High School in Pocatello.
Mm-hmm.
There's the flag display at Freeman Park in Idaho Falls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of any others, but there is the Fisherman's Breakfast this morning. Oh, it might all be close to over. What does it go till 11? Something like that. That is happening this morning, which is the kickoff of fishing season, right? So you can go fishing this weekend.
Yeah.
So lots of Memorial Day activities that you can do.
Love it when listeners tell me I'm ugly. That's always fun.
On the text line?
Yeah. What?
I saw your response.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to visit graves?
Yeah, I think we'll drive out to Dad's grave. I don't know if we'll do it Sunday or Monday, but probably.
Yeah, I need to go back up. I took up...
oh, yeah, you went to see your mom and dad.
I cleaned it and did lilacs up there, but I'll need to go back up because they don't clean off the stuff, and so the lilac vase and everything is probably sitting there, so I've got to go take it off, put some new on, and probably pull a few more weeds because I'm sure they've grown since.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, somebody sent us pictures of the Freeman Park one. You might have said that.
Yeah.
I was reading the text.
Oh, Robert says fishing opens up before Memorial Weekend.
Is today opening day? Because that's when they do the Fisherman's Breakfast, is on opening day. So.
Yeah.
So.
I would have no idea. Fishing was me and my dad. I haven't really fished since my dad died.
Yeah. Oh, somebody said, is Epstein really even dead? I have seen this conspiracy theory that he's got some ranch in New Mexico or something.
Okay.
How possible is that?
There is nothing I close the door on anymore.
I know. I wouldn't either. Oh, I was having Julie refresh my memory on the suspected witness protection program.
I didn't know there was a trucking mafia until I came across that couple.
Maybe every big industry has a mafia.
And I remember years and years ago when I figured out there was a sanitation mafia in New York.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, there's a sanitation mafia?
Yeah. Here we go. All right. 9:48 on News Talk 107.9. Neil Larson and Julie Mason. And if you'd like to be on the program, you can send us a text or you can call on the Stones Automotive Group call and text line 208-542-1079. We're talking about several different issues. Someone said that Bongino looked like he was in a hostage video during that interview.
Yeah.
Which I will say, he did not look comfortable.
No, he did not. And I have been as pleasantly surprised as I have been about Scott Bessent and the job that he's done. I have been as shocked and disappointed in the fact that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have been kind of meh.
Right. They were supposed to be this dynamic duo that would come in, clean house, reveal the, we just haven't seen much movement. Now, I'm holding out hope. All right, I haven't lost all hope here that, they're not compromised. Maybe it just takes time. Maybe the deep state is so deeply entrenched, and it's like diffusing a bomb. Like, you have to be very careful about the steps that you take, who you fire when and in what order, and how you secure information. It might just be an incredibly tedious process that they're having to go through, and then maybe one day, it might be months down the road, they have their case ready and they reveal everything and they move forward with it. It might, because all of this, I think, really started under Barack Obama. Like the really, really seedy, deep state embedded stuff. So they've had some years. Now, some people would say, oh, no, it started with J. Edgar Hoover way, way back, decades ago. there's always corruption in every agency. But I think the overt political weaponization where they deliberately put leftists in to undermine our republic, that started in earnest under Barack Obama.
Yes, I would agree with that. And very covertly, like very hidden, because everybody just thought Obama was this great dude. Like, oh, he's first black president. Look how good he is. He's all flowery when he speaks. There was some serious damage done by that man.
Oh, absolutely there was. And damage that I don't know if we'll ever fully heal from.
Mm-hmm. Because it continued after.
It did. I mean, I think it was Barack Obama that led the way to Black Lives Matter and Antifa and the really radical, violent leftism that we've seen crop its ugly head in America the last decade and a half. Yeah. And so I think we can credit Barack Obama with that.
Yeah,
so.
And it's obvious he was still pulling strings even last summer.
Yeah.
I wonder how often, I've thought this more than once, I wonder how often they, meaning the powers that be, sit back, with their martini or their whiskey in their hand and go, wow, we really miscalculated the summer of 2024.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think so. And although I think there's also a sense, we see this, Julie, from the trolls that text in. Mm-hmm. They've lost it doesn't matter what you put forward to them. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't matter the evidence that to refute what they're saying. They're just locked in. It doesn't matter. I have tried. And you get frustrated with me because I have tried. And not... I mean, I'm hoping to scoop them out of their oblivion. That's the hope, is that maybe some of these people can be rescued. I don't think that's the case anymore because they have lost their ability to change their not their opinion. They're just locked in. Mm-hmm. And once it has been firmly established, it's kind, you know what it's kind of like? Now, not to the severity and to the degree and intensity, but when we look at the Lori Vallow Daybell case, she really thinks that she's one of the 144. Mm-hmm. That the leader of. She's a goddess, that she's had all these lives. And whatever it was that Chad helped to plant in her heart and her belief and her perception about her place in the eternities and in the universe, that got so deeply rooted, there is no way to get rid of it. There just isn't. I feel like there are some Trump deranged people. It doesn't matter what approach you take. It doesn't matter how overwhelmingly you prove them wrong. They will immediately shift to another point of outrage. On the cusp of being disproven, they shift to another facet of their outrage. And it's a many-faceted outrage, by the way. And so you can never actually get them to begin to doubt themselves in their Trump hatred. And that really is the problem. It's a sort of a self-preservation mechanism. It's almost fascinating.
Do you remember that 2-inch pink eraser you were always asked to get with your school supplies every year when you were a kid?
Yeah.
It's like there's a universal one of those that is massive, that people who hate Trump, that pink eraser goes in and erases the capability out of that person to critically think.
Yes.
And it works so well. Remember how the pink eraser works so well? Mm-hmm. It works that well with these Trump deranged people. It has erased their ability to critically think.
Yeah, it is. And it's just sad. I look at it because we're losing these people to that, to their own hatred. All right, we've got to break. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up after this on News Talk 107.9. Okay. All right, we'll come back. Let's, because we can do your Timberlines next week, right? Is that okay? So we're good.
I've only got 2 left, so we're fine. Yeah.
So we do have another Town and Country, and I think it did all my the manufactured home. So, you know what's fascinating too is the other side thinks that about us, that they can't sway us from our Trump support.
Okay.
And we can't sway them from their Trump hatred.
Well, I can't speak for everyone. But if I was to give them a timeline of my support of Trump, I was all in on DeSantis.
Yeah.
But those who think like me and who share my conservative values chose Trump instead.
Yeah.
So critically thinking, I'm going to go, okay, I didn't get my guy, but I absolutely do not want Joe Biden. And then you tried to do your little switcheroo, and 100% I didn't want Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And critically thinking, I can go, Trump does some things that bother me, but he will be far better for the country than those two.
Well,
that's not a deranged position.
I've also placed limits on my Trump support. If he invades Greenland just to take it, I'm not going to get behind that. If he tries to run for a third term in 2028, not getting behind that. We have other people, and that's not lawful. So I will push back. So, but I don't think they have any limits to their hatred for Trump. You have people calling for his assassination now.
Right. Yeah. High-level people.
Yeah.
Retired FBI directors.
Yes. Is he going to feel bad?
No.
Or was that the point all along?
If something happened to him, he would never feel bad. He would be like, well,
hoping
get
that
what you deserve.
Activated some deranged person out there. All right, 9:57 on News Talk 1079. Town and Country Gardens, great place to go and grab your Memorial Day flowers, Julie. Before you go out and visit graves, they've got a wonderful and beautiful selection of flowers on top of all the other things they offer.
Absolutely. And I mean, not that this matters because you should be doing it for your loved ones, but a lot of the cemeteries clear off the flowers afterwards.
Yeah.
So if you just go the day before, you get to take them home and you can continue to enjoy them at your home.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. So Town and Country Gardens, beautiful selection, plus everything you need for your lawn and for your garden. It's almost planting time.
South of Idaho Falls on the Yellowstone Highway across from the Budweiser plant. Also, Julie, let's encourage our listeners to go out and see one or both of the or other flag displays that are happening. Freeman Park in Idaho Falls, and you also have Century High School in Pocatello with beautiful flag displays right now.
Yes, we learned that the Freeman Park display, the kickoff happens tomorrow morning, and it is open like late into the evening, so you can go see it at night, which is gorgeous.
Yeah, I highly recommend that. Everyone, please be safe. Julie and I will be in on Memorial Day. We may start an hour later than usual, but we'll be here for the morning show on Monday. We'll see you then.